In the second chapter of our Sri Lanka series, we embark on an archaeological journey through the ancient wonders surrounding Sigiriya. Our adventure begins with a sunrise hike to view the iconic Lion's Rock and continues with a scenic bike ride through the historic capital of Polonnaruwa, where we unravel the mysteries of its ancient ruins.
We are treated to an unforgettable safari in Minneriya National Park, where we witness the largest gathering of wild elephants in Sri Lanka, all from the comfort of an open-top Jeep.
The ultimate thrill comes as we ascend to the summit of the enigmatic Lion's Rock, where we uncover the secrets of its majestic fortified palace set against a backdrop of breathtaking beauty. Join us in Sri Lanka for a journey of ancient ruins and wild elephants.
In our previous video, we travelled from the coastal town of Negombo to Sigiriya, with stops at Sri Lanka's largest elephant orphanage in Pidurangala and a local village where we immersed ourselves in local customs and cooking traditions.
This is really, really nice. So this is Kassapa in Sigiriya. Beautiful. Apparently great for spotting birds in the morning as well. Oh, I love the high ceilings. I think I have to document all the food here.
The spread at Kassapa Lion Rock was nothing short of spectacular. We knew we'd need a hearty meal and a good night's rest to prepare for the early morning adventure awaiting us.
So much food, and then there's the desserts. God.
Before dawn, we set off into the darkness, embarking on what felt like a pilgrimage to one of Sri Lanka's most iconic sunrise spots.
So we left this morning in the dark at 5 a.m. to make our way up here to Pidurangala Rock, which looks straight across to the famous Lion's Rock in Sigiriya. And we're going to get a really beautiful sunrise up here. This rock itself is actually quite a spiritual place. There's a temple we passed on the way up here that was built up during the reign of King Kassapa between 477 and 495 AD. And the whole idea was to move the temple itself, the Buddhist temple, from the Lion's Rock there here on top of this hill, making it closer to the village of Sigiriya and more accessible to the village people. How was that, Chicky?
Chaotic.
That was absolutely insane.
Traffic jam.
We were expecting like maybe 10, 20 people, but there were like hundreds and hundreds of people there, and the wind was blowing really strong, so we couldn't really fly the drone or anything anyway. Yeah, it was chaos. Coming straight down, there was a massive traffic jam. Not quite the tranquil sunrise experience that we were expecting, but it was still pretty cool to check out. Maybe sunset would be nice up here. Maybe sun going down behind the Lion's Rock would be kind of cool and maybe less busy. Or an elephant crossing the road up here.
A little over an hour's drive, we arrive at one of Sri Lanka's largest archaeological sites.
We've just entered into the medieval city of Polonnaruwa. The city was a 12th century medieval capital of Sri Lanka, so it was the second capital of Sri Lanka, most of which was built by the second king, Pidurangala Rock. So one of the things Pidurangala Rock the Great was remembered for was the fact that he actually had the foresight when it came to the distribution of water, and one of the things that he actually declared is not Not one drop of water would reach the ocean without being used by the people. Our driver earlier, Buddikha, was mentioning that a lot of the reservoirs around here, there's 33,000 of them that were built around the same time or constructed around the same time. And the sites we're about to see today are mostly made, 90 to 100% made of clay bricks, which came from the bases of these lakes and all of this area here. So the library up behind me here is called Podgula. Our guide Sunil was just explaining that this was actually the library here, and you can actually see some parts there where they had some rendering on the side, and it kind of looks like cement, but it was actually lime water that they used mixed with some honey and egg yolks and things like that. It would have had a dome sort of umbrella type roof on top. So this and the statue are at the southern end of the site. We're about to get on some bikes and head up and see some of the rest of the site because it's such a large area, and it's all UNESCO World Heritage listed as well, which is pretty awesome. So we're about to visit the Citadel, and you can see 2 levels here, but originally this was 7 levels high and shaped like a Chinese pagoda. It would have been absolutely amazing to see, and it's where the king would have stayed with all his concubines. So the Citadel here was actually burnt down in 1236 by Tamil conquerors, and when the conquerors came, they actually released the sluice gates there in the lake, pretty much flooding all the surrounding area, brought in malaria and a lot of diseases, and eventually all the people moved up into the hills. So this was all covered in jungle up until the British arrived here. So we're about to enter into the council chamber of the king, or the audience hall. There's 20 pillars here that represented the different ministers that would have stood here in audience of the king. And you've also got these really cool little sculptures down here. I'm going to get some close-up shots of them. These motifs that you see at the bottom there, all of the elephants, it's like they're running excited. Pretty cool.
Polonnaruwa spans over 122 hectares, making it the second largest archaeological site in the country. With so much to see, cycling offers the perfect way to experience it all.
So this here is the royal baths that we're basically using gravity to assist the water coming down from the lake level, and essentially it would filter in through here and then run off down into some channels in the back there and eventually rejoin the canal system. Really, really intricate the way that they put these things together. It was super intelligent. So we're at the religious complex right now, and there are a couple of rules here in Sri Lanka. These are actually laws, so you can't take photographs. This girl actually is just getting in trouble right now, getting a photograph in front of the Buddha with her back turned to the Buddha. It's actually illegal to do that over here. And obviously the ladies have to cover up their shoulders. I can't wear a hat and no shoes. So this is the meditation center here that was for the Buddhist monks, and of course it was destroyed by the Tamil conquerors when they came through in the 1200s. It's a really, really beautiful structure. They would have had really giant Buddha statues, and the lights would have come straight through and shone into the Buddha's eyes. You got the milk rice, and they're giving you this.
Yes.
Yeah. And what temple is this?
I don't remember the name of it.
Temple of Shiva.
Ah, yeah.
So this is the Temple of Shiva. You can see that the priest here has given us the third eye there, and it was actually the oldest building, or is the oldest building here in the site. So it's 1,200 years old, and it was built by South Indian Tamils. So it's here to worship their Lord Shiva, but also specifically for the women to come here when they were having problems getting pregnant. So they'd come here and do some chants and eat some milk rice. And it's making me nervous that the priest has now given Miranda this milk rice as well. What happened to your milk rice, Miranda?
The monkeys.
What did they do?
Took it.
They took it?
They didn't take it. I panicked and dropped it on the ground because I thought a monkey lunged at me.
You might have. I don't know. So it's getting pretty hot now. It's about 36, he was saying, 36 degrees Celsius here, so it is boiling. And we're about to get back on bikes. I'm actually kind of cautious now with these monkeys. They're just kind of scurrying around and jumping all over everything. Cool, let's do it. Miranda is now pregnant. So behind me here we have the Sri Lankan Dagobah, which is the largest Dagobah in the park. It was used to house all the sacred relics, and it used to have a golden cap on top which would attract the lightning from the clouds that would pass over and conduct through the temple. Quite interesting form of early electricity, I suppose. That was unfortunately stolen by treasure hunters, and it was basically covered in jungle until the 1800s, until the British Empire had come through this area. So we have 4 large Buddha statues here. I can't film myself in this area because it is a sacred area. The 4 statues are showing different meditation poses. There are 7 in the Buddhist religion, and the most unusual pose is this one up here, the standing pose. There are 3 species of monkey here in Sri Lanka: the macaques, the grey langurs, and the one we just saw is the most elusive and the rarest, which is the black monkey. And they're always really afraid of people, so it was pretty cool. We got to see one quite active. So we're here in Minneriya National Park. We've got the whole safari to ourselves, open top safari. There's obviously other ones out here. This apparently has the densest population of Asian elephants just here in Sri Lanka. Yeah, this is open top safari style. Oh yeah. Miranda's enjoying the comfy couches. They're actually really nice. Entering the park now.
It didn't take long before we spotted our first herd of elephants. While Pidurangala National Park is home to the largest permanent population of wild elephants in Sri Lanka, Minneriya is famous for hosting the largest gathering of wild elephants, with numbers soaring above 300 during the wet season, making it the biggest gathering of Asian elephants in the world.
What do you think, Cheeky?
This is incredible.
That's pretty cool.
Here.
A family of wild elephants right here. So crazy. There's a lot of cars here though. There are a lot of people, unfortunately. So I think we're kind of putting off the elephants a bit, but they'll go across there and they'll find their own privacy. Beautiful creatures. Pretty intense. So the matriarch over here had a bit of a standoff with one of the vehicles, the safari vehicles, and the driver was yelling and throwing water to try to get rid of them. She's sort of just staring at them now, but I think they're going to back off and go into the bush.
Minneriya National Park draws around 200,000 visitors each year, particularly during the gathering, from July to October. While tourism supports conservation, the influx of jeep safaris can stress the elephants and disturb their natural behaviours. To minimise this impact, the park regulates vehicle numbers, enforces viewing distances, and encourages responsible tourism through educational programs. However, not all operators consistently follow these rules, leading to occasional conflicts with the elephants. So 2 or 3 months old, those little babies over there. So cute. Like just right next to us.
While the elephant population in Minneriya remains stable, true repopulation efforts are limited. Elephants migrate across Minneriya, Kadula, and Wasgamua national parks, and conservation efforts mainly focus on protecting their habitat and reducing human-elephant conflicts. Despite a relatively stable population, habitat loss continues to be a significant challenge.
Male Asian elephants are much larger than females, reaching up to 3 meters or 10 feet at the shoulder, and weighing up to 6,000 kilograms or 13,200 pounds. Unlike females, males are often solitary or form temporary bachelor groups, seeking out herds only during mating periods. They also undergo musth, a period of heightened aggression and increased testosterone, which makes them more dominant and competitive in the search for mates.
We just had a big, massive bull elephant cross the road in front of us there, and the car started to back up, and the driver was actually saying these guys are pretty dangerous, you know. They're the ones that can get quite aggressive, but he seemed pretty chill. He actually just went past, looked at us, and then kept going. He was huge. He was definitely the biggest elephant we'd seen today.
An interview with Chicky. Chicky, how was your day?
My day was fabulous.
Fabulous. Any highlights from the day?
Seeing all the elephants, that was really cool.
And the babies?
The baby elephants, of course. And then, yeah, that was probably a highlight. I really did like Polonnaruwa, I think it's called, as well. That was quite fascinating.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
And the hike this morning was nice as well, although it was very, very crowded. But my highlight has to be the safari with the elephants. That was amazing.
It was a pretty well-rounded day, you know. We had a little exercise, we had a little wildlife and a little culture and history, which was cool. I'm in the process right now. It's kind of interesting because we got a lot of footage. In fact, probably way too much wildlife footage. Halfway through the day, my camera just like frizzed out and did something strange, reset itself and reformatted my SD card, which wiped all of my wildlife footage from Sri Lanka from the last 3 or 4 days. So you might notice that some of our wildlife footage is a little lacking because it's all been shot on the iPhone.
We were Talking yesterday about how when the Tamil conquerors came through, they flooded the area around here. So this was all left as like a wetlands, like a jungle wetlands area. And it wasn't until the British arrived in the 1830s, they uncovered this archaeological site. We had several people that came through here uncovering some of the relics. But this guy here behind me, Senarath Paranavitana, he actually dedicated his life to actually uncovering a lot of this area here.
As we approach the Sigiriya archaeological site, we spot several grey langurs foraging amongst the ruins.
Cool. The king put crocodiles here in the moat as a barrier, a form of defense, and obviously these steps were going up here quite narrow as well in case of attack. So behind me here we have the pleasure garden, which was built a bit of leisure. They've got a whole canal and irrigation system through here and some baths as well. And in the background there, that's where we're heading. That's the famous Lion's Rock. So if you use a little imagination, to our right-hand side up there would be the back of the lion, and to the left-hand side would be the face of the lion. Let's head up to the top. So you can see the baths over here on this side, and then you've got this sloped landscape down that side. At one stage this would have all been symmetrical, and they've only actually excavated one side, so in the future they plan to excavate all the other side over here. So you can see these little holes in the ground over here. This is actually a fountain system, and the interesting thing about it is we're actually above lake level right now, so they still don't know how they were able to pressurize the fountains and create the actual fountains to flow. And the interesting thing is sometimes in the wet season under a heavy rain, those fountains still operate. And in the background over here is a little island which they've excavated and found some remains of what may have been the king's garden palace down here. And another cool thing is they found some international coins there, which proved that this kingdom had international trade. So behind us here we actually have the largest pool in the garden area, and this is an octagonal shaped pool. It would have had a granite layer on the bottom, and it would have flowed crystal clear water into this area here, and this is where the king would have relaxed and bathed. And the reason why the king created these gardens here is he was so stressed out with potential conquering enemies coming through that he just wanted to take his mind off things, and that's why he created the gardens.
On a nearby tree we spot a giant squirrel, far larger than any we had ever seen. The grizzled giant squirrel, native to Sri Lanka's forests, is known for its distinctive grey fur and bushy tail, growing up to 1 metre or 3.3 feet in length. Though impressive in size, they are endangered due to habitat loss. Found mostly in protected areas, they are the second largest squirrel species in the world, trailing only to the giant squirrel of Southeast Asia. We're about to see some of the temples up here in the caves that surround the rock itself. So the monks were here for just over 200 years, or a little over 200 years before King Kassapa came down here and made this his royal retreat. And that's when the monks moved up to the Pidurangala Rock, where we went yesterday. To remember the name of that one. The steps made out of quartz. In the moonlight they would reflect back, and it would make it easy for them to find their way. Unfortunately it's eroded away with time, but you can see the smooth part of the rock face up there that actually had frescoes or depictions of the concubines of the kings, which was numbered around 500, and they were all facing this direction over here, which is towards the temple. So as we were saying before, Pidurangala is where the temple the monks moved to, and they're all holding a flower in offerant. We can still see some of the frescoes inside the cave, so we're going to go inside the cave and check those out.
You can see the lion staircase here. The paws are still intact. There used to be a head on top, actually, that represented the lion's face, and you'd walk through the lion's mouth. The steps that we've done, and all the way to the top, equal about 1,300. We're about 85% of the way, so we're almost at the top now. So the Sri Lankan name for the Lion's Rock is Sigiriya. Singa is the word for lion, and Giriya means rock, and that's where the name of the town comes from. They've only actually excavated the western side over here, so there could be a whole lot more stuff over here on the eastern side. And there's the rock we were yesterday, Pidurangala. So we're right at the top of the Lion's Rock. So the monks, once they left the area and King Kassapa took over this as his fortress here, he built it up on these high, steep cliffs for protection. Obviously, you have a great advantage up here, 349 meters above sea level. From the bottom to the top is about 180 meters, so that sort of gives you a bit of an idea of what sort of terrain any potential enemies would have had to have come up against. Have a look down there. We have these terraces over here, and they remind us a lot of Machu Picchu, and the surrounding area obviously is very, very different to the Andes. It actually reminds us a little bit of the Glasshouse Mountains in Queensland, Australia. It's kind of funny how places remind you of other places. Great combination though. Look at that. We have the King's Throne behind us here, facing towards the east and facing towards all the parliamentary buildings. So he would actually do his morning addresses at sunrise. A really cool and interesting thing, literally cool, is the cooling system they have here, where they had the water running down there, and it would basically cool up the area. Very similar to an early air conditioning sort of system. Pretty cool. See this big giant rock here behind me that's being propped up by smaller rocks. Buddikha was saying that when they had times of war, they were able to actually use these and propel the rocks over the edge using like a levee system. It's pretty crazy. I can't even imagine that. On the other side of the mural wall that I mentioned earlier that faces over to the west side there, and the murals, as I mentioned before, depicted all the concubines, but on this side here, all the travelers that came here in the 12th and 13th centuries, they could actually come up here and inscribe reviews on their trip, you know, like an early TripAdvisor, or write their opinion on something like an early Facebook or Twitter or something like that, which is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, over time they have worn away because they were painted on, not inscribed, but we can see some of the murals still intact here in some of the cave systems we're about to go visit, protected from the elements. Unfortunately, we can't film anything in there, but I will try to overlay some pictures because they're quite interesting. Aside from the fact that it's a whole bunch of half-naked ladies, Buddikha was actually saying that they appear topless, but if you look closely, you can actually see some colors, and they would have been wearing some sort of, most likely like a silk dress or something like that, see-through silk sort of thing, and they're all, or most of them, are holding these lotus flowers. So the lake we went to the other day was actually created by King Kassapa during his reign to farm these lotus flowers for the concubines to hold up, and it's a religious practice that they had. Kassapa's rules was between 1477 and 1495, but the monks were using this as a monastic settlement for a little over 200 years before that. They call this the Cobra Cave because of the natural shape of the rock up there. It looks like a king cobra. Cheeky, what did you think about this morning?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I think it was such a great morning. We went super early, so we left at around, what, 6:45 or something like that. It was nice and cool when we got there, and I don't know, I didn't have many expectations for this.
Really?
Because I didn't really look up too much. I thought it was going to be like yesterday where we just shot up the side of the mountain. But I knew that it was a super famous site, but I didn't do much research on it beforehand, which I'm actually happy I didn't because...
Surprised.
Man, I was surprised, and it exceeded my expectations for sure.
It's cool that there wasn't many people up there either.
No, there was like no one there. I got like photos with no one in them, and then when we came back down, I'm so happy we went as early as we did because it was crowded getting back down. So
you can imagine the amount of people that'd be up there right now too in the stinking heat.
Our tour guide was saying that sometimes it takes like 30 minutes to get up like a little section of stairs that we went up before, where we just like shot straight up. So
cool.
It's definitely beautiful, and definitely do it in the morning.
In the next chapter of our Sri Lankan adventure, we head to the picturesque mountain town of Kandy to explore the country's holiest site, followed by one of the world's most stunning train journeys on our way to Ella. Follow us for many more Sri Lankan adventures to come.
Hey guys, just a quick message. We really hope you enjoyed this video. Many hours of work goes into every single video we make, and we try to make them to the very best of our ability.
We take the time to choose the best travel destinations and the best adventure activities so that we can provide you with top-tier content.
However, the only way our channel can grow is with your help. If you enjoy our videos, please leave a comment letting us know along with any questions you may have, or if there's anything you'd like to see more of.
Interactions in the comments section, along with liking our videos, is what gets us exposure on YouTube, along with sharing this video. If there's anyone you think would enjoy our videos, please share and help us grow global travel stories. We thank you for your support.